There is a quiet realization that arrives somewhere around midlife. It rarely comes with an announcement. Instead, it arrives as a whisper, a subtle shift in the inner weather. You may look at your life and see that everything, on the surface, is functioning exactly as it should. The routines are set. The responsibilities are met. You are still running at the very same speed you always have. But beneath it all, the heartbeat feels different. Keeping up with this pace requires a heavier toll than it once did. There is an invisible weight you carry. It is not a physical exhaustion, but a profound weariness of the spirit. It is the quiet fatigue of constantly holding things together, of playing the roles you have been assigned, of being the reliable one, the productive one, the one who never drops the ball. For years, perhaps decades, you have worn these expectations like armor. But armor, no matter how shiny or protective, eventually becomes incredibly heavy. We spend so much of our youth building, acquiring, and proving our worth to the world. We build careers, families, and complex identities. We add layer upon layer to our existence, believing that more is the ultimate answer to happiness. And in this relentless pursuit, we learn to live on autopilot. We become so focused on managing the next obligation, solving the next problem, and reaching the next milestone, that we forget what it actually means to be present. We mistake the management of life for the actual experience of living. Days blend into weeks, and weeks into years, and suddenly you find yourself pausing in the middle of a busy room, feeling strangely disconnected from the very life you have spent so much energy building. When this realization hits, society often tells us it is a crisis, a midlife decline, a problem that needs to be fixed with more action, more self-improvement, or more distractions. But what if it is not? What if this profound sense of exhaustion is not a symptom of failing, but a beautiful, natural signal of awakening? In Zen philosophy, this moment is not the beginning of the end. It is a profound invitation. Your mind and body are signaling that the era of accumulation is over. The time for adding more onto your shoulders has passed. The vessel is full. To cross this threshold into the second half of life, we must learn a completely new skill. We must shift from the art of acquiring to the profound, life-changing magic of subtraction. This is the Zen art of letting go. It is the realization that true freedom after 50 does not come from having everything figured out or from pushing yourself harder. It comes from finally loosening your grip on the things that were never truly yours to hold. It is about gently stripping away the non-essential to reveal the quiet truth underneath. Let us explore how stepping back, doing less, and embracing the quiet might just be the most powerful step forward you will ever take. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Accumulation. For the first 50 years of our lives, we are taught the mathematics of addition. From a very young age, we are conditioned to believe that a successful life is a gathered life. We accumulate degrees, job titles, possessions, and responsibilities. We build our identities around what we have, what we do, and how much we can carry. If someone asks who you are, You instinctively list your roles: a parent, a professional, a spouse, a provider. We weave these labels together to create a sense of self, believing that with every new addition, we become more complete, more secure, and more valuable in the eyes of the world. But as the years pass, this endless accumulation begins to cast a long, heavy shadow. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a profound teaching regarding the illusion of the self. We suffer because we mistakenly believe that we are the sum of our titles and our possessions. We cling so tightly to these constructed identities that we become trapped by them. The very things we gathered to make us feel secure eventually become the bars of our own cage. We become terrified of losing our status, our youthful energy, or our relevance, completely forgetting that these were always temporary garments, not our true skin. There is an ancient Zen story about a highly educated scholar who traveled a great distance to visit a renowned Zen master. The scholar wanted to learn about the secrets of Zen, but the moment he sat down, he began talking endlessly. He spoke of all the books he had read, the philosophies he had mastered, and the experiences he had gathered over his long life. The Zen master listened in silence and began to pour tea into the scholar's cup. He poured until the cup was full, and then he kept pouring. The hot tea spilled over the edges, running across the table and onto the scholar's robes. "Stop!" the scholar shouted, jumping up. "The cup is full. No more will go in." The Zen master set the teapot down with quiet grace. "Just like this cup," the master smiled. "You are overflowing with your own opinions, your past experiences, and your accumulated knowledge. How can you possibly receive anything new unless you first empty your cup?" By the time we reach midlife, our cups are not just full, they are overflowing. They are overflowing with decades of accumulated habits, deeply held beliefs about who we are supposed to be, old resentments, and the heavy expectations of others. We feel exhausted because we are constantly trying to balance this overflowing cup, terrified of spilling a single drop. We want to find peace. We want to experience a new sense of freedom. But we cannot taste the peace of the present moment because there is simply no room left for it. This process of emptying the cup often begins in the physical world. As you embrace the art of letting go, you may find yourself looking at your surroundings through an entirely different lens. You look at the objects filling your closets and your garage, things bought years ago to impress people who do not truly matter, or items meant to anchor an identity you no longer relate to. You realize that everything you own demands a piece of your attention, a fraction of your energy. Letting go of these possessions is not about adopting a rigid, modern minimalism. By clearing the physical clutter, you are creating breathing room for your soul. You are acknowledging that you no longer need physical evidence to prove your worth. Yet, the most liberating act of subtraction is not throwing away old clothes or giving away unused furniture. It is gently, without anger or regret, taking off the heavy crown of societal expectations. It is giving yourself permission to step down from the pedestal of being the one who always has the answers. You do not have to be the relentless achiever anymore. You do not have to carry the weight of other people's unlived dreams. And you do not have to keep playing a character in a story you have outgrown. We often fear that if we let go of these roles and responsibilities, we will disappear. We worry that without our busy schedules, we will lose our value and become invisible. But subtraction does not diminish you. Like a master woodcarver chiseling away the excess wood to reveal the magnificent sculpture hidden inside. Letting go removes everything that is not truly you. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you finally have the space to just be. You begin to understand that letting go is not an act of losing. It is an act of unbinding. It is the brave and beautiful return to your true, unburdened self. Chapter 2: The Currency of Peace. We spend our younger years chasing financial security, deeply convinced that money is the ultimate shield against the uncertainties of life. But as we cross into midlife, a strange paradox often emerges. Even when we have saved, even when we have built a comfortable nest, a quiet, lingering anxiety often remains. We clutch our resources tightly, driven by a deep-seated fear of the future. In Buddhist thought, this anxiety does not come from a lack of funds, but from a lack of inner security. When our inner world feels fragile, we frantically try to fortify the outer world. We use money not just to survive, but to build thick walls around our vulnerability. We buy things to prove we are still relevant, still successful, and still in control of our destiny. We use spending as a quick, numbing agent to temporarily silence the whispers of emptiness or the subtle fear of growing older. But we eventually learn a hard truth. Material wealth can never cure spiritual poverty. As the Zen art of letting go begins to take root in your daily life, your relationship with money undergoes a profound transformation. The relentless impulse to constantly upgrade your life, your car, your wardrobe, your living space begins to lose its heavy grip on your mind. You start to see the hidden cost of every single purchase. You realize that everything you buy costs not just money, but a piece of your precious life energy to maintain it, protect it, worry about it, and eventually dispose of it. As you step away from the endless treadmill of consumption, your spending becomes an act of deep intentionality. Before making a purchase, you no longer ask if it will impress others or provide a fleeting moment of excitement. Instead, you ask a much simpler, quieter question: does this bring genuine peace into my life? You stop buying things to distract yourself from the present moment. Instead, you start directing your resources toward what truly nourishes your soul. A simple meal with a dear friend, a quiet walk in a place of natural beauty, the space to simply be. Money is beautifully transformed from a demanding master that dictates your choices into a quiet servant that protects your tranquility. There is a powerful Buddhist concept that translates to the wisdom of knowing when it is enough. In a society that is constantly shouting that you need more to be happy, realizing that you already have enough is a radical act of rebellion. It is a spiritual superpower. You begin to deeply understand that true abundance is not found in endless accumulation, but in the peaceful absence of desire. Because of this, your definition of wealth fundamentally changes. Wealth is no longer measured by the size of your bank account or the accumulation of luxury goods. True wealth after 50 is the ownership of your own time. It is the freedom to wake up and decide how your day will naturally unfold. It is the ability to sit quietly on a Tuesday morning with a warm cup of tea, without the crushing weight of obligations you took on just to keep up appearances. When you master the art of knowing when enough is enough, you stop trading your precious, remaining time for money you do not actually need. You finally realize that the most valuable currency you will ever possess is a peaceful mind and a quiet, unhurried life. Chapter 3. The Power of Mindful Pauses. For decades, we have been conditioned to believe that our worth is directly tied to our productivity. We have internalized the dangerous myth that a busy life is a meaningful life. Because of this, when the natural fatigue of midlife sets in, we often treat it as a failure. We push through it, drink another cup of coffee, and try to force our bodies to operate like machines that never need to power down. When we do finally stop, we are often consumed by a quiet, nagging guilt, feeling as though we are wasting time if we are not actively producing something. But this exhaustion is not a weakness. It is not an enemy to be defeated. It is a profound, intelligent message from your body and your spirit, begging you to return to the present moment. In the Zen tradition, true rest is not merely the absence of work, and it is certainly not about checking out or numbing yourself with endless distractions. True rest is the practice of complete presence. It is the revolutionary act of choosing rest without guilt. Imagine giving yourself the absolute permission to sit by a window and do entirely nothing. No planning for tomorrow. No analyzing yesterday. No trying to fix a single problem. Just sitting, breathing, and watching the light shift across the room. In a world that demands constant motion, sitting in absolute silence is not a waste of time or a sign of laziness. It is a powerful, deliberate action. It is the ultimate recovery for a fractured, overworked mind. When you stop rushing to the next moment, you discover the deep richness of the one you are currently in. Drinking a single cup of tea can become a profound meditation. You feel the warmth of the cup against your palms. You notice the rising steam, and you taste the delicate bitterness of the leaves. You are not drinking tea while planning your afternoon. You are simply, entirely, drinking tea. This mindful pause clears the muddy waters of the mind. As the ancient masters teach, when you allow the water to become still, the mud naturally sinks to the bottom, and clarity returns on its own. You realize that you do not need to constantly seek external stimulation or endless achievements to feel alive. This newfound gentleness also transforms the way you inhabit your physical body. You stop treating your body as a stubborn vehicle that must be pushed, exhausted, and punished into shape. Instead, you begin to treat it as a sacred temple. Movement is no longer about pushing through pain or trying to reclaim the physical strength of your youth. It becomes a way of honoring the life that is quietly flowing through you. You take slow, mindful walks, not to reach a destination or burn energy, but to feel the solid earth beneath your feet and the wind against your face. You stretch not to achieve a perfect posture, but to listen to the quiet language of your muscles. You breathe deeply, drawing the simple miracle of the present moment into your lungs. By removing the harsh pressure to constantly perform, you allow your mind and body to finally heal in the gentle, powerful embrace of the present. Chapter 4. Embracing the Autumn. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a profound teaching on impermanence. It is the understanding that everything in the universe is in a constant state of flux, and that our greatest suffering comes from trying to hold on to things that are naturally meant to change. We often view getting older as a loss, fighting the passage of time with everything we have. We try to freeze time, desperately clinging to the energy, the appearance, and the ambitions of our youth. But nature offers us a much wiser perspective. If a human life is like the 4 seasons, then reaching your 50s is the beautiful axo, golden arrival of autumn. Think of a majestic tree in the middle of a forest during the fall. As the air turns crisp and the days grow shorter, the tree does not panic. It does not desperately try to produce new blossoms, and it does not fight the changing weather by pretending it is still spring. Instead, it does something incredibly wise. It lets go. It gracefully releases its leaves, allowing them to drift to the ground. The tree does not drop its leaves because it is weak or dying. It lets them go to conserve its life force, withdrawing its energy from the surface to nourish its deep, unseen roots. As we enter the autumn of our lives, we are called to do the exact same thing. We are invited to let go of the external blooming. All those years spent proving ourselves, seeking validation, and striving for outward success were our spring and summer. Now, it is time to deepen our roots. We must allow the roles, the ambitions, and the need for external approval to gently fall away. When we stop trying to maintain the beautiful foliage on the outside, we finally have the energy to cultivate profound wisdom on the inside. This season of life also requires a radical shift in how we measure our progress. For decades, we have been conditioned to look sideways, comparing our journey to the timelines of others. We carry the heavy burden of where we think we should be by a certain age, judging ourselves harshly if our reality does not match the social blueprint. But a tree in autumn does not look at an evergreen and feel inadequate. It simply follows its own natural rhythm. When we practice true acceptance, we finally drop the exhausting habit of comparison. We recognize that every person has a unique path, governed by countless causes and conditions, and that there is no single timeline for a well-lived life. This profound acceptance changes the way we move through the world. We stop trying to control every outcome and bend the universe to our will. For so long, we believed that if we just worked harder or worried more, we could prevent unwanted changes. But trying to force life to go your way is like swimming upstream against a powerful river. It leaves you exhausted and battered. Letting go is the courageous act of turning around and allowing the current to carry you. It is the realization that you do not have to have all the answers or control every variable. True joy in the autumn of life comes from surrendering to the natural flow of existence, finding deep peace not by forcing the world to match your desires, but by finding perfect harmony with the world exactly as it is. As you gently strip away the excess, the noise, and the heavy expectations, a beautiful silence begins to settle over your life. Many people fear that letting go means giving up, or that embracing a slower, simpler life means you will lose your purpose. But the exact opposite is true. When you clear the clutter from your physical and mental space, you do not lose your identity. You finally discover it. You step out from behind the roles you have played for so long and stand face to face with your true self. Living with this quiet wisdom does not mean all your responsibilities vanish, or that life suddenly becomes perfectly effortless. The challenges of the world will still exist. What changes is your center of gravity. Your decisions are no longer driven by the frantic need to please others, to prove your worth, or to keep up with an artificial timeline. Instead, your choices arise from a place of deep, unshakable stillness. You engage with the world not out of obligation or fear, but out of genuine intention. You learn to walk through life with a light heart, carrying only what is truly necessary and leaving the rest behind. This is the ultimate gift of the second half of life. It is a profound homecoming. You realize that you do not need to be more, do more, or have more to be complete. You are already whole. The years ahead of you are a blank canvas, no longer dictated by the demands of society, but waiting to be painted by the gentle strokes of your own authentic desires. As you move forward, let go of the heavy burdens of the past and the anxious illusions of the future. Rest deeply in the beauty of the present moment. Let these coming years not be about anxiously counting the time you have left, but about making every single moment truly and profoundly your own.